Unassuming off the court, but relentless on the parquet. John Havlicek bridged two eras of Celtic greatness, from his beginnings as a six-man to his later role as a star. Hondo stole his way into Boston lore, becoming the franchise's all-time leading scorer.
He gets it out deep, and Havlicek steals it over the sand goes. Havlicek stole the ball.
John Havlicek was one of the all-time great athletes in the NBA.
10 seconds, 8 seconds. Havlicek jump shot, no good. His own rebound is good.
Superb conditioning, could run all day and never get tired. I remember he had these gigantic hands for a guy that is, 6'5", 6'6". Great defender, just a great competitor. You just knew that he might not beat you with points one night. He was just going to beat you. He was going to out-compete you, outrun you, out-hustle you, out-defend you, out-jump you. That's what he brought to the Celtics.
I can remember when he first came in the league, he wasn't that great of a scorer, but he became the sixth man. County perfected that role that a former player, Frank Ramsey, had developed for the Celtics.
The other thing about John was always interesting. He was sort of a perfectionist. Every single play, he expected all of us to run it exactly the way we practice it.
John Havlicek was a great all-around athlete. As everybody remembers, he tried out for the Cleveland Browns, I think, first, and didn't make the team, but then Red Auerbach was smart enough to pick him up and brought him into Boston to play basketball.
John Havlicek, his stamina was the thing that I will always remember. Chet Walker, an old teammate of mine, we would alternate just to try and play him, split it 24 minutes each. And he's playing 48 minutes, and he would just run you to death. And you just shoot the ball, huh? Just get it over with. Get it over with.
Well, you can't think about the first half of NBA history to date without thinking about the dominant Boston Celtics teams. And you can't think about those dominant Celtics teams without thinking about John Havlicek. Where is his place in NBA history in your mind?
Oh, one of the greats, no doubt, Matt. I mean, a player who came in an era with Russell and Cousy and those guys and really stood out on his own, was steady and consistent throughout his entire career. What I love was his stamina. He was one of those guys who never got tired, constant movement. My dad used to talk about the kind of conditioning that a guy like John Havlicek had. And you think about players in the modern era, guys like Reggie Miller, Rip Hamilton, even Steph Curry without the basketball. John Havlicek was a player like that. And he was tall. He was bigger than those guys. And then his selflessness, being able to, his willingness to come off the bench. A great player, an all-star Hall of Famer who understood the big picture, winning championships, being a part of that Boston culture, coming off the bench. So his steadiness, his selflessness, and then his stamina are the three things that, when I think about John Havlicek, really come to mind.
Sometimes in a dynasty like that, it's hard to separate the player from the organization. In this case, John Havlicek was part of a couple of different eras of greatness in Boston.
He really was. He really was. I mean, his career was long enough where he caught the tail end of that first era of Russell and Casey Jones and Sam Jones and the great Boston Celtics teams. And then he kind of bridged the gap towards that next era. He kept him relevant. He played with JoJo White in the 70s. They had some championships, Dave Cowens. And then he retired right before the great Larry Bird in that era. So really a part of sort of multiple eras. And like you said, there's a lot of greatness that was a part of that Celtic tradition. But John Havlicek's right up there at the top is one of the greats there in Boston.
A great two-way player who also averaged nearly 21 points a game for his entire NBA career and has 8 championships to show for it. Here's Havlicek's former teammate Charlie Scott on his biggest game.
And the most important game is the triple overtime game against Phoenix in the 1976 championship game.
Here come the Celtics. Clock will start when it's touched. Havlicek touches it. It begins. 3 seconds. Hondo off the glass. He's got it with a second.
I mean, you're talking about triple overtime, and I think John played maybe out of 63 minutes, he might have played 60 or 58 minutes, and at the same pace. And again, hit the clutch shots that, that gave us the win.